What's it after?
Hello, everyone. This is the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. My name is Dave McDevitt. I'm the president of this organization. The Drexel Free Thought Society promotes science, reason, and logic, and discourages and confronts harmful beliefs proposed by others. I did a little of that yesterday, and I'll talk about that later. But more than anything, we try to support a secular community at Drexel University, and we try to do this in part by hosting these podcasts. This way we can interact with the public. You guys will be able to chat with us at the second portion of the show. You can also email us at any time. You can Twitter us. You can message us on Facebook. You can join the live stream that you would be listening to right now and talk to us actively. But in the second half of the show, you can also call in on our Skype. All the various things would be drexfreethought@gmail.com, Drexel Free Thought on Facebook, Drexel Free Thought Society on Twitter, or Drexel Free Thought Radio on Spreaker. It'll also be up on YouTube later. This week, we are going to be talking about an interesting subject that was given to us by one of our members who's not here right now. And I thought this would actually be fascinating, because this is something that comes up all the time when discussing any moral argument, and that's assisted suicide. So, introduce yourselves, people, and we'll get the conversation going.
Dante Hanson, Vice President of the Drexel Free Thought Society.
You couldn't sound more bored if you tried.
I'm having a long day, man. Wednesdays are not good days for me.
Richard Campbell, supposed treasurer of the Free Thought Society.
If we ever get some money, Richard, we'll definitely have you do something. Wonder if that guy over there was looking for us.
Mm-hmm.
Dante, fetch.
I'm Isabel DeWanzik. I'm just kind of here. I'm just a member. I don't really have a position or anything, but yeah.
She has a camera.
Want to be the secretary? I want somebody to take down minutes.
I don't really have a notebook or anything on me.
Computers, wave of the future.
Or that. There's nothing on me right now besides this like beautiful camera.
Well, if you're going to talk, you have to talk louder.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Anyway, slow start to this video. But the one thing I wanted to talk about before we actually get into the subject, which is something I shouldn't have started doing when having a mouthful of food. 1 second. Anyway, one of our members for the Facebook group, and I think officially a member, emailed me yesterday concerning a street preacher that often talks at 33rd and Market. And for those at Drexel or in Philadelphia, that is the dragon statue. This is a quad intersection, crazy place where everyone walks all the time to get to literally anywhere. It's pretty much the highway from the dorms to the classrooms. So, of course, he starts preaching there. The member of this group complained that it was really bothersome, so immediately I sprung into action. I jumped over, had a good conversation. Richard joined me for a little bit, and as did a professor that stopped by and started talking to him as well. It was interesting.
Was this the same guy who was there for Ask an Atheist?
No. This is weird. It's a completely different guy. They just seem to really like that location. And there's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the idea is just interesting. He has the classic shtick, creation means that a God exists, but his big thing was that atheists have no moral basis, and would actually, while talking to me, he was talking through a little loudspeaker device. Like one of those hip-mounted speakers with a little headset. So he was like saying, atheists do not have a moral basis for like their beliefs, and I'm like talking to him at the same time, just saying like, would you like me to explain how atheists have a moral basis for their beliefs? In which he responded, no, I don't want to hear about that. So I then said, can you stop lying? And then he's like, no, I'm not lying at all.
Oh, that's what you were referring to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then that is wrong.
It was just so annoying. Because, I mean, sure, if you don't want to hear what I have to say, that's fine. But then don't say that it's impossible for atheists to have a basis of morality if you don't let them explain it to you.
It's ridiculous.
Like, I don't speak for all atheists at all. But I have a basis for morality, and it doesn't revolve any God stuff. And I think we're going to actually dip into that right now. So, assisted suicide. How about that?
Strawberries are delicious.
Dr. Kevorkian.
Strawberries and Kevorkian. That was a interesting combination of words.
Okay, my personal thoughts on assisted suicide.
Talk louder.
Okay, sorry. My personal thoughts on assisted suicide. I think it should be legal, but only in cases where you have already been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Where, there is absolutely no possibility that you are going to get better. You will die. And you will die fairly shortly, like 6 months or less, In that case, yeah, go for it. Because, I think, it's not fair, to make somebody suffer through these next 6 months when, they're going to die anyway. However, if you just want to physician assisted suicide for the sake of, oh, so-and-so is depressed or something. No, I mean, you need help for that. You need, that's what psychologists are for. That's for what, antidepressant, there's actual help available for that, and you need to go get it.
I would go a little bit in the opposite direction of what you were indicating for the latter point that you were trying to make. I do believe that any individual should be able to undergo euthanasia if they first go through extensive mental counseling, mental care, mental therapy, anything else. But I think if it is after a certain amount of years that they are not able to get over their trauma that was most likely inflicted upon them by their own upbringings, by their own parental guidance, they should have the capability to take their own life, as long as if they are of legal age and they are of sound mind.
That'd be crazy. It's let's see, 18 is, driving age, 21 is drinking age, and 26 is suicide age.
Well, that's a weird thing to bring up, though, because
Wait, there's a
when are
age?
you?
There's no suicide age.
Oh, okay. You're just pulling that number.
That's a weird thing to bring up, though, because who's to say what is the correct age to actually make certain decisions that actually have something to deal with taking your own life? Who determines that? Is it determined by some sort of central authority of psychologists, or is it determined by the individual? Who's it determined by?
Now, I do have a question to propose, just in general. I remember hearing a few years ago about I think she was 12 or 13, and she was battling, I think, cancer or something. And this girl, decided to refuse. She had done treatments, and it kept on coming back or whatever. I think this was in Britain. And she decided to refuse treatments and just kind of let herself die. And her mom kind of agreed with her or whatever. And it was very, very controversial. Couldn't someone make this choice when they were 12 years old? I'm curious what you guys have to say about that.
I think at the end, it's kind of in the gray area. I don't really know what I would say, but I don't think it's right for society to tell these individuals, oh, that's so wrong, you shouldn't do that because I wouldn't do this, which sort of takes away the accountability for an individual to take the horns of whatever they want to do with their own lives. It just seems immoral to me that people would do this.
I'm kind of really torn on the whole issue. It's hard to say, especially when you have a 12-year-old girl that says that I just don't want to do it anymore. Me personally, if I was friends or family with somebody who thought that way, I would really try my best to talk them out of it. But at the same time, it's very hard for me to put myself in their shoes, because I'm not the one suffering, especially with these cancer treatments and all these different things, and things aren't working. And I don't know the whole mechanizations behind that, but apparently these chemotherapy things take a heavy toll on the body.
Terrible.
Yeah.
My grandmother went for it.
Yeah, so I've heard, and you know, and if it causes that much pain and anguish, I kind of don't blame them for wanting it to stop, especially if it's been consistent on and off. So I mean, I really don't have a really solid opinion.
Send me these pictures.
What?
Send me these pictures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can post them online.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't have a solid opinion on these kind of things. But while I was gone gathering my food, did we actually define what assisted suicide was?
I don't
So I
think
can
we
make
actually
sure,
did.
So I can make sure that we're on the same page. I don't want to go off on a complete tangent.
I mean, what's your definition?
Well,
Of
what was
what?
the person who proposed the idea? What was their definition?
I don't know. That was Douglas who proposed this as the topic, and he has a club that ends at 6:30.
Oh.
So he's on them just can't show up.
I think can't assisted suicide take place over a certain amount of time through intravenous chemicals or
Wait, assisted
some
suicide?
sort of
Well,
doesn't it have
It's just
to
a
deal
lethal.
with?
It's a lethal injection.
Oh, so it's just
It's
a
you-
lethal
you-
injection.
Well, it's a cocktail.
I thought
One makes you go to sleep, and so you don't feel anything. And the other makes you never wake up.
I thought it was something you drank.
No.
Well,
I thought it came in pill form and everything
I'm
after a
almost
certain amount
positive
of
it's in
years.
no,
Yeah.
I
I'm
actually
thinking
no,
like
I know.
suicide by cop.
I know it's like at least in some like I think I watched a documentary about this. It was like Choosing to Die,
Yeah, I saw
and I think
that.
it was this guy. It was a British guy, and he went to I think Sweden,
Didn't
where
you
it was
take
legal,
the
and he
pills?
and no, it wasn't pills. It was like 2 drinks. She said drink this and then drink that one. You know.
Oh
like,
yeah.
And like right before he actually did it, she's
I
like,
think they did that for artistic value, because I really don't think they would do that.
okay.
Especially since like some of the people that would go through this procedure are like paralyzed, or like no one gives medicine as a fluid anymore,
It was kind of
unless it's something like has to be swallowed and then it just drops.
It was kind of really strange watching that documentary because the guy seemed kind of happy, but he was like, you know,
He was
I'm
kind of
done with
nonchalant
my
about
life.
it. Yeah.
And it was just kind of strange. I think that when it has to deal with something that is not medical, when it has to deal with someone's emotional or mental state, I think we really have to go down and figuring out what actually caused that sort of feeling in the first place, instead of just going through and saying that, you know, the person has the right to, you know, go through assisted suicide or not. I think that's the main goal is to figure out what's causing it so we can stop it from happening in the first place.
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
Fair enough. But you know, I'll tell you one case of suicide that might be very hard to avoid, and that's suicide by cop. And because you'll have like somebody who claims they have nothing to lose. So kind of like the movie we watched, Falling Down. That was technically suicide by cop. There was a movie called Falling Down.
Well, for those who don't know, suicide by cop is committing a heinous crime to the degree that if you try to run, and the police tell you to stop, they'll just gun you down.
Okay.
Well,
Oh
basically,
yeah, I was confused by that.
No, basically, I'm sorry. Basically, you perform any action which will provoke a security officer, or police officer, or what have you, to actually shoot.
So like have to use deadly force.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and there was a movie like Falling Down where the guy, he did a whole bunch of really violent things to people during his little trek through town, and there was a cop that caught up to him. And when he realized that, you know, he believed that he was doing the right thing, you know, trying to get to his daughter. And when the cop told him that, hey, you know, you're going to jail, he really didn't like the idea of having his daughter seen behind bars. So he actually sat there for a few moments and then proclaimed that he had a gun, wanted to have a little quote-unquote duel, and then at 3, he pulls out a water pistol, actually shoots the cop, and right directly after that, the cop shoots him. So he already knew he was going to go down, and
Yeah.
it makes you wonder. And those cases are very hard to really get to, because once the police are involved, there's not much you can do because they're on a case now. Mm-hmm. They have to get whoever is in your family or you know, in your friends or your circle doing bad stuff, they got to get to them. You can't really stop them.
Yeah, no, I
And
gotcha.
so that I think that's a really, really tough situation.
I don't know if it's a suicide by cop, and that's kind of you are purposefully putting yourself in a situation in which you will die.
Yeah.
You're also
And I think that's your responsibility.
But it's kind of assisted, though. Wouldn't you say?
It's assisted, but only in the sense that it's kind of like, it's a stupid example, but it's like running into a guillotine. Technically it's assisted, but you shouldn't be doing that.
But at the same time, like, you're also putting other people in harm's way.
True, and
Which
that's
is
just,
bad.
that's kind of a dick move.
That's sort of bad.
Yeah.
As while we're on this physician-assisted suicide, I want to bring up like Terry Schiavo, because you know,
that?
seriously,
Yeah.
okay.
It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know that, but why can't we talk about it?
No, it's
Okay.
like, you're just like, really? It's like, it was 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
If you
okay.
forget
You're
about-
defending him. Okay, all right. It basically, it was this case where this woman was brain dead. I think because she had been like bulimic or something, and she'd gotten rid of some sort of enzyme or something. I don't know exactly. The whatever.
The point is she was brain dead.
Yeah, she was brain dead.
Vegetated. Yep.
And she was living in this like hospital, you know, quote unquote, in this hospital.
Her body was being kept alive.
Yeah, and her husband requested that she be stopped given a feeding tube, and they kind of just let her starve to death, effectively.
But the controversy came up was
her-
do they have the right to do that?
And her, because her parents were very much opposed to this, and they said, you know, I see it as murder. You know, you can't just be going around killing.
It's like, I
What
love
do
the
you
I
killing
love
our
the
daughter.
I
and
mean,
a
you're
lot
gonna
of
keep a
no,
body alive that has nothing
no,
in
but
it.
like the argument for it, like some of the arguments were religious, and a religious argument always comes up when it has to do with like
Mhm.
us, like a vegetative state, and I just find it hilarious because it's completely backwards. It's like her soul is still in there. We know that our daughter is still like Terry is still in there, and then it's just like, all right.
Why don't you want her to go to
I know.
heaven?
So you're trapping the soul in a lifeless body.
Or you can
So you
go
guys
by-
are just jerks.
Or you could go by the opposite way to these religious individuals, and you can say, no, the soul left the body. Like, the soul is no longer in the body, and that's why she's no longer able to
So,
do
yeah,
anything
they never
human
agree.
anymore.
It's like I'm totally cool with pointing out the ridiculousness of a religious claim, but then I don't feel like indulging it. It's kind of
No, I
just
mean, like, if they're gonna stay steadfast in their own belief systems, you can also make that argument.
yeah,
possibly.
I'd much rather do the legal argument and going, you don't have power of attorney, shut up. In this case, I'm pretty sure the husband did.
You make things way too simple.
I do that.
Again with that soul thing.
Yeah, honestly, if the soul argument comes up with cases of assisted suicide, it's just like, it's just stupid. It's just like, okay, so I'm just going to share my opinion on assisted suicide, or suicide in general. And, okay, so there's this character guy who makes videos on YouTube. He hasn't for a while, whatever. His name is like 2 the Ranting Griffin, like the number 2 the Ranting Griffin.
I think I've heard.
And one of his things has to do with like cyberbullying, and this kind of ties nicely into this particular subject. And it's like some people have actually killed themselves due to cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm not going to get into cyberbullying, but I just want to have the idea of suicide. And it's just like, there are people around the world who are gripping onto the very last fiber of life with every fiber of their being. They're fighting with every possible muscle in their body to stay alive. If you're in a situation where you want to die, then do it. Personally, if it was somebody in my life, for mostly very selfish reasons, I would want them to stay alive. But it's their choice and it's their life. I can't, like, if I try to make the person stay alive, then their life is now my responsibility. And I'm not going to do that. So, honestly, buck up, kiddos, on the internet. I wish you will seek the help that you need to not be suicidal anymore, but it's your decision, and I'm going to let you make that decision.
I have a counterpoint to that.
By all means.
Yeah. If that person has a dependent, such as a child, do you really think that's okay? Oh, it's just your life. You can throw that away. You're like, well, you're not just. It's not just your life you're talking about. You're also talking about your kid's life.
Once you have a kid, you've given up any right that you have to kill yourself.
Yeah.
No, you haven't.
No, you haven't.
A child under the age of 18.
So what are you proposing? You want somebody to stay alive in a life they desperately hate and raise a child in that environment.
I'm saying that they should get help.
I am too. I'm just saying that ultimately it's that person's decision.
Legally speaking,
you can't
just leave your kid to chance. You're just oh, okay. Well, I'll just let them go in the foster care.
Sadly, it's not our decision to make. It's reprehensible to us, but unfortunately, it's their life, and they know that other lives are involved, and it's kind of hard for people who are not directly in their lives to intervene.
Yeah, I mean,
I would try to. I would convince the person. I would say, "Hey, man, you really." I mean, I've actually stopped quite a few people from committing suicide, especially in the army. It's like, I mean, it wasn't because they claimed that their life sucked. It was usually some big thing like their wife was cheating on them or something like that. And I've actually managed to convince people to not take their life, but I would at least do that, before saying. I mean, I try not to give up on people.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me because, especially if it's somebody that I understand where you're getting at.
It's like I take conflict, or what word am I trying to say?
I have no idea.
I take conflict with that remark.
You can say that.
Is that a sentence?
Offense?
I take offense.
Whatever. You can say you take conflict. Yeah.
Anyway, I disagree.
There you go. That's better.
That's a better sentence.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was gonna say. What did you say?
I was basically talking about how I try to convince folks that they don't have to kill themselves.
But this is the thing, is if somebody is in a certain mindset, it doesn't matter what you say. They have to get themselves out of that mindset.
Oh, of course, but you can help them get out of that mindset.
That was the first part of my sentence.
Yeah, you can help them.
I honestly don't think you can. I think
I disagree. I disagree.
You can talk people out of
because if that was the case, they wouldn't have things like 1-800-SUICIDE. They wouldn't have.
No, those are people deciding that they want to get help.
Yes.
You can't make people want to get help.
I agree completely. It's the same.
I
mean, it's the same. It's the same. I agree with David for once. I will say this because.
I have acquired a Richard.
I'm saying this because I, like a lot of other individuals, have gone through a time in their life where they literally wanted to commit suicide, whether it be for.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, whether it be for the circumstances that they were going through in their own childhood that they couldn't even get away from because of their circumstances. Basically making it impossible for them to get out of that, or some other reasons. And I personally speaking did want to commit suicide, but at the same time later on I felt like I needed to help myself and find some help by going into certain things like talking to a therapist and everything else like that. But somebody else, my mom or my parents or something else like that, telling me, oh no, everything is alright, and don't commit suicide or something like that, that wasn't cutting the cheese. I'm sorry. I just
That's still you.
That that was me deciding I want to get past this, and I went through a lot of stuff in my life that went on because of my parents' divorce. I won't go into it, but it went on for like 12 years of my entire life, and throughout that entire time, I was only able to find it in myself to be resilient enough to get past these certain circumstances. And I think that's for everyone who's going through certain circumstances like I did, even people who've been through worse times.
That's still kind of hard to say, though, because, again, it's a very individualistic way of looking at it. There are a lot of people, yes, I do agree, that the person committing suicide does need to possess the strength to not want to commit suicide. They have to realize that what situation they're in and go seek help. But I will also say that a lot of people, at least the people I have encountered, want to commit suicide because they have no way out of their current situation. They have not found a method to deal with the sadness, the pain, whether it's physical or mental. And sometimes when that other person does come in and talks to them, they feel as if, wait a minute, that person just put a bug in my ear. I really don't have to go through this. And then that's where the person kind of finds that strength to go and help themselves. It's sometimes. It's not an absolute thing. Because I think it's a very broad generalization to say that, there's no way that these people can help these people from committing suicide.
Well, in some ways. In some ways they can. And I couldn't actually get myself out of that situation at the time, that I know of at least. Anyone basically within that certain situation I was in, if they said, don't do it or something like that, it wouldn't have done anything. But if I had a close friend at that time that was completely outside of that sort of situation, they would have been able to help me out. And people have helped me out through talking to them with what I've gone through in my past that are very personal things.
That inner strength, right?
And
quote unquote.
Yeah, well, I mean, that helps build inner strength to get past certain things. But
that's all I was saying.
That's
all I meant, really.
Depending upon what you're going through at that particular time and your strength that you are able to build in yourself against the situation, toughens your mental resistance.
That's kind of the point. Like, Richard kind of brought up a good point. It's like, if you are in a certain frame of mind, it doesn't matter what anyone else says, because the words just go right. It's either they go right over your head, or you just don't even hear it.
Oh yeah, I've known cases like that. Yeah,
that happens more often than you'd think, and it's like, and that's kind of the thing. You have to eventually wake up in the morning and decide that you want to be better. If you don't have that, then you will just close off to everything else. There's a reason why depression is an actual thing and not just having the blues or something.
Yeah, it's a lot more than
a
bad day.
Like, everyone gets depressed, quote unquote.
But clinical depression.
Not everyone gets clinical depression.
Just a side note, I'd like to say that one of the things that I did as an individual was I had something to...
Now, before you continue, remember that this is going on the internet and will be there forever.
Well, no, I'm not going to say anything really,
I feel I need to give that warning more often
but
than I should.
I'm just saying that one of the things that I did that I believe a lot of other individuals do to get past this sort of feeling of hopelessness is looking forward to something that they'd be able to achieve in their own lives, setting a goal to work towards, whether it be marriage or your future career that you want to do, and it might be a lot of time to get to that goal, but you keep your eyes on the future when you're going through these tough times. I think that it's a very helpful tool to get you out of this situation that you are in.
Amusingly enough, I've actually heard the exact opposite.
Really?
That focusing too much on the future or on the past is exactly what you shouldn't be doing.
Oh.
You actually need to live in the present and deal with the problems head on.
That might be it.
But
we're very preoccupied with the future as it is.
It's like
reasonably so, but still.
Yeah, I agree. But it's kind of the idea, if you focus too much on the future, then you'll just be like, for lack of a better term, you'll be running into walls over and over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously...
It's like, man, I really want that cupcake over there. Why do I have to keep climbing over these really
obviously, during that time period, it might help you out in the short term, but later on, when you've actually gone through the situation you have been in, because of looking into the future all the time during then, you might have all of these emotions and all of these thoughts that you've harbored in the back of your mind, and therefore it's important for someone who has gone through emotional trauma to get help afterwards, even if they've gone through everything.
I don't know, I find that just dangerous. It seems like you're just kind of putting a blanket over the actual issues you're facing. and instead focusing on like other things.
I always say that the present is pertinent. What's going on right now is definitely the most important thing you really need to focus on. I mean, sure, it's good to look at the future a bit, but like, if you're always just looking ahead, but you're not looking at yourself, you're not going to realize what's actually coming upon you. So,
unless you want to take on the mildly philosophical notion that we're never in the present, we're always slightly in the past.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually thinking about that.
Stupid light bouncing off things.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that as far as like looking forward and looking actually at yourself and find out what's really going on right now, and then a little philosophical thing.
As far as this goes into like assisted suicide, I think it's I think my opinion follows, where it's just if you're in a situation and you don't want to live anymore, then
You should do it yourself.
Well, what? Here's a hatchet. Have fun. What do you mean? Do it yourself. I don't recommend giving hatchets to disabled people.
I'm reading assisted suicide as having somebody actually help you do it.
I mean, like, assisted suicide is really just... Like, I think what we should have done at the start is make a distinction between suicide and assisted suicide.
Yeah. That's what I was getting
like,
at when I first came in.
Because I think it's like suicide would be like you literally taking it upon yourself to end your own life.
Well, suicide is just a broad term.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's what it would mean to be strictly suicide. For it to be assisted suicide, somebody else has to be around to help you.
Well,
where it's ultimately your decision, but somebody does it for you.
Somebody pushes the idea.
It's kind of like the difference between murder and the difference between murder and suicide.
Kind of like the cyanide Kool-Aid guy. Wouldn't that be a form of assisted suicide? Even though people.
Well, actually, him and his group murdered almost all of them. Very few people actually get in suicide.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of the gun to your head, drink this Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that the Heaven's Gate cult?
I
People's
think
Temple.
so.
What?
People's Temple.
Yes.
Yeah, that wacko.
Was that Jim Jones?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
I always get Manson and Jim Jones mixed up.
What
There's
did Mansons do?
Similar thing.
Oh,
Kind of a dick.
yeah.
Still alive.
Still alive in jail. And he has like a huge fan base.
People like him.
I heard one of his weird speeches.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into Charles Manson.
Yeah, that's.
But I think that's the idea with assisted suicide is just it's your decision, 100%. End my life right now, please. And then the other person, because you're in a situation in which you can't do it yourself, somebody assists you in the action.
I could not do that.
What if that person that we're doing
I
the
probably could.
assistant?
I've never killed anyone.
What if
Well, you're
that,
not killing anyone. That's precisely the point, Dante.
Still.
Is that you are just fulfilling somebody's wishes.
Well,
you're
what-
not actually. That's the
I'm
point.
still
What if the
killing them.
person
Even if
It's
it's
not
their will.
killing them.
Even if it's their will, I'm ending their life still. I mean, it's
Well,
their
it-
decision,
well,
but I'm still pulling the trigger.
like just to make a distinction.
Yeah.
If you're like carrying a really heavy book or something and trip on the stairs and it flies through the air and the person hits someone in the head and they get knocked unconscious and die when they hit a wall or something.
Jeez.
Did you kill the person?
Yes, you did.
I sure did.
Manslaughter.
Yes.
So it's like technically I don't even think that would count as manslaughter.
It was
I think that would be.
It's a freak accident.
It's like accidental man killing.
It's a freak accident. A freaking.
You get life in prison.
No, you see, that's the point.
For that.
Is even if your hand technically ended the person's life, the circumstance is different. So it's not really you killing the person.
But legally, wouldn't somebody still arrest you because you shot or did whatever to that person in their life?
Not really.
Even though it was their will.
If something is like purely an accident, then you really don't get arrested.
Well, what if I were walking?
You get in the report, but you don't get
Well,
arrested.
what if I were walking down the street for some random reason with a butcher knife and I was sleepwalking and then automatically I tripped on a rock or something like that was in my way and there was someone walking towards me.
There was some
and
guy.
I'm like, whoa, and then stabbed him in the chest. Would that make me...
Technically, you probably get arrested because you're not allowed to walk around with giant knives.
But what if
There
I
was
were
some guy. There
sleepwalking
was some
and-
guy who. May I answer this question?
Yeah.
There was some guy who apparently he sleptwalked 13 miles to his mother-in-law's house and killed her but he got off because he was sleepwalking. He was asleep. He didn't know what he
You
was
really
doing.
need to talk louder.
What the heck?
I'm sorry.
No, because that's bizarre.
That
No,
is
but I mean-
so weird.
I don't know.
But that's not suicide.
You see, like in that situation, I would actually say, like, this is the reason that I hate jail systems, because this person is a danger to himself and other people. Therefore, he should be taken away from other people, and
killed.
made sure he can't hurt himself. But that's why he should have been like put in counseling so they can figure out the right kind of medication to make him so he doesn't sleepwalk like this anymore, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but then.
But just letting him go basically means other people are probably going to get hurt.
Well, then the private prison system couldn't make as much money, so you can't.
Yeah,
do
I
that.
forgot to care about the private prison system. My bad, guys.
Scum bucket.
I know. I always forget about the private prison system.
Well, what about? I'm trying to think. I don't know if this story was actually true. I think it was fabricated, but let me just go with it again. There was a story going around back when I was in the military in Korea about some guy who got caught between two tanks. I don't know why. I mean, for some reason he was standing between the vehicles. They were both on. Well, no, the front one was on because if the back one was on, he would have been burned. But anyways, the tank somehow lurched forward and kind of pinned him against the back of the other tank. He was still alive though. But they claim that, and again, I don't know if the rest of the story is true, but they kept him alive long enough so that some of his loved ones can come by and say goodbye to him. Because if they were to remove the tank, put it in reverse, it would kill him.
Yeah.
Now, in a case like that, would you consider that assisted suicide?
No, not at all. Unless the guy specifically unwheeled the tank to run into himself. Because that would.
Because he did want to die at that point. I mean, he knew he was going to die, and he was just like, "Hey, just do it."
No, you see, I think that's a freak accident. That's unfortunate, but it's just the situation you're in at the moment, so you might as well make the best of it.
Well, when does assisted suicide actually happen? Does it only happen with medical cases, or does it happen with emotional trauma too?
I think right now it's only with like terminal patients.
Is it legal in the United States?
I don't know.
I think in
So
Washington.
this is why we need Douglas.
I think Washington
in
State. I believe it is legal.
Yeah, I think there are a few places where it's allowed, but I think it's only under very. And over the break, I'll try to find like the actual parameters. But yeah, I think it actually is something that is allowed in a few places. But I don't see any problem with that. I've seen so many people die that it's just, if people don't want to suffer anymore, then that's their decision.
As long as if you try to seek out the help first, I think it should be up to the individual.
Like I said, like I was saying before,
Yeah,
you can't force someone to help themselves.
that's true.
Well, you can only present the idea, really, but I mean,
Pretty much.
they're going to sit here and say, "You're going to freaking live."
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about you said, well, I mostly want them around for selfish reasons. Because I was sitting there, it was really bothering me. Because sorry, okay, I will I will talk right into this microphone.
Because the mic has to pick up your voice, and you have a very soft timbre.
Honestly, I think you're saying, well, maybe it's selfish for me to want them around, just for me or whatever, or maybe so, but I think it's selfish of them to, be committing suicide.
No, it's not.
May I talk? Thank you. Sorry, this is kind of a sensitive issue for me.
Go for it.
It's, it's that you can't just leave everyone behind. You can't just do that. Like, you're not thinking at all about what other people are going to have to like deal with once you are gone. You are not thinking about this at all. You're just thinking about yourself in that moment. And I think that's selfish. Feel free to disagree with me. I understand that they're in a lot of pain. I understand that they're in a lot of torment, but they're thinking of no one else but themselves.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
It's okay.
It's emotional for me too.
It's just an emotional topic for me, and it just it's.
See,
Well-
it's hard for me to comment since I've never been in that situation. So I apologize if I come off as wrong or anything.
That's
Well,
okay.
it's like, here's the deal, though. It would be, like, I think there's a distinction between, like, what I was saying and what you're saying. I think
Okay.
I think, like, it would be selfish for me to force, like, I'm just gonna say that you're suicidal, Dante. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it's like, it would be selfish for me to force Dante to stay alive if he doesn't want to. But if you are the sole owner of your own life. So it's sort of like, I know it's a stupid example, but it's like, I own this water bottle. Like, I would say that it would be selfish of Richard to, like, make me give him this bottle for no reason. I think that would be, like, a weird thing to do. But it's my bottle. If I wanted to throw this on the ground and smash it, that everyone would think I'm like, what? Why are you doing? That's a waste of a bottle. But I'd be like, it's my bottle. I did not want it anymore.
Non-aggression principle.
But what if?
right there.
What if?
If
Richard,
I wanted to paint it a different color,
Well,
if I wanted to sell the
Exactly.
bottle,
What if-
It's
what if-
your
what if-
That's what I
individual
mean.
property.
What if Richard could have used that bottle? What if Richard was emotionally attached to that bottle?
well, it's my bottle.
It doesn't matter. It's
It
his
doesn't.
bottle.
It doesn't matter. What if I move? What if I move and he never sees the bottle again?
That's like.
It doesn't matter. It's still mine.
That-
I don't have
that-
to leave it here.
That's like. Sorry.
It sounds like no matter which direction you look at it, it's selfish to somebody. Like, you look at it from your perspective, it will be selfish of you because, I mean, to have this person stay alive because you would feel sad. And you look at it from her side, it would be selfish of the person committing suicide because when they die, they're going to be somewhat, putting the emotional state of everybody else's lives in jeopardy. So it's like, no matter how you look at it, it's selfish in some direction.
But I think that
so what's right and what's wrong here?
I think I'm a huge advocate of personal autonomy,
Nah.
and I think that's like way more important than a lot of other rights that people have. And thank you, Richard. Anyway, damn it, Richard. So I think that the idea that like it's selfish for someone to commit suicide, that could very well be true, but it's still their right to. And I think it's like, you can't stay alive for other people. You can't live
no
for
idea.
other people.
You have no idea the amount of guilt people go through when someone they know attempts suicide or kills themselves.
Oh.
Wow.
Don't I?
Sorry, I didn't. That probably wasn't. I
Yeah.
apologize. That was a.
I've experienced more emotional pain than most people should be allowed to.
Okay, I apologize. That wasn't fair of me.
Maybe not from like the individual perspective of anyone who's have gone through this, but what would the emotional guilt be from? Not from your personal experiences, but from somebody else. I mean, why would you feel emotionally guilty for somebody else's suicide?
I should have done something. I should have known that there was something wrong with that person. I should have told someone, that they were,
Altruism.
yeah, you put all the blame on yourself,
Eventually, you learn you can't save everybody.
Then
I try to focus my energy on saving people that want to be saved.
Well, I mean, depending
I suppose it's
upon
something
the
that's it.
situation, I think there is a point where it's I could have done something, and there could be one point where people just feel guilty and they didn't really actually do anything because it wasn't their fault in the first place. And there's another one where they could have actually done something, and then it's sort of like, well, why didn't you do something? Like a parent or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, unless you like have really contrived situations, I still kind of fall back on the notion that the person has to want to do something different. Like, unless you have like, if only the chair was moved slightly to the left, everything would have been better. But it's like, things aren't that simple.
Well,
There's very rare chance that someone can actually say, this is the one thing that could have been done to keep this person
well,
happy and alive.
let's say you're raising a child or something like that.
It's
and,
like, can you save this analogy for after the break?
Okay.
Remember this analogy. Alright, so we're getting in a very emotionally heated discussion. I hope you all are enjoying it on the internet, you crazy people. We are the Drexel Free Thought Society. We'll be back in, it appears to be a 10-minute break because we started a little late. Feel free to call us at our Skype account at Drexel Free Thought. Email us at drexelfreethought.com. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter. Join the Spreaker. Join the Spreaker, and everyone have a nice day. Goodbye.
Biscuit.
Yeah.